Hi everyone, my name is Richa and I will be presenting the bilingual team this afternoon. So our main focus for this first event is to present why French is a key element in the job market and to attract more French-speaking students to the PDC. Next slide, please. I will start by presenting my team members. Chris is the executive, I am the vice exec, and Serge is the French Cafe event coordinator. Next slide, please. The objectives of our team are to support a strategic vision of the PDC in the French market, as well as attract more bilingual community. We will also provide French resource and help if needed. We'll first talk about how learning French as a second language will help you get jobs in Canada, and we'll offer some early guidance and tools to get you started. A guest speaker will join us to present how being bilingual has helped her to grab good opportunities in her career, especially with the government. Next slide, please. So these are compelling stats about the importance of bilingualism in Canada. You can see that bilinguals earn more almost everywhere in Canada, not only in Quebec. So why is French important in the Canadian job market? Next slide, please. 81% of supervisors considers bilingual employees an asset. Multinational companies often seek employees who are fluent in more than one language. And since the year 2000, the Federal Public Service, which values bilingualism, has had to recruit between 12,000 and 15,000 employees to replace retiring public servants. In Canada, employees who speak both French and English are eligible for bilingual bonus. Bilingual candidates are generally worth anywhere from 10 to 30% more than English-only candidates in today's job market. And the shortage of bilingual talents has forced many employers to raise salaries and to drop mandatory prerequisites. I will now leave the floor to our guest speaker.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Reeham, and as you can see from the screen, I am a biomedical mechanical engineer. I'm doing currently my master's, and I am the lead clinical biomedical engineer at the Department of National Defense right now. My experience and professional degree were all kind of like in the public service around that realm. So that's what I'll be speaking about today. Je suis également francophone, donc si vous avez des questions en français, je serai très ravie de vous répondre en ça. Je pense juste pour le temps, on va pas avoir le temps de tout traduire, mais s'il vous plaît, vous pouvez rester jusqu'à la fin aussi, je pourrai traduire ou vous donner plus d'informations. So just given this time circumstances, I won't be able to just translate everything, but we are open to offering help in both languages. So I wanted this session, I'm not sure how many people we have, how many students we have here, but I wanted to be a little bit more interactive. I really wanted to hear back from you guys and what your experience has been. So because this has been my experience in the government, but I really found that even though I did some limited schooling in French, I ended up like getting how to say, like a head start in a lot of jobs later on. And that's how I actually continued increasing my passion and actually continued in learning French on the side to kind of like, because you're tested on your language skills. Even in the government, when you enter, you will be tested on your second language. So actually I have a trick here. So if you are more comfortable in any language, pick that as your first language. So for example, you know, French is very complicated. So if you're bilingual, I would say put French as your first language and do your exams in English, because the English exams are way easier than the French grammar, structure, and so on. So whatever you check a box in the first day, that's what they'll hold against your account. You'll always be that. So and you are required to keep your language levels updated every 5 years. So you'll be retested in your second language every 5 years. You have writing, reading, and comprehension. And it's like a multiple choice type of exam. And of course, it will be free of charge by your employer when you're in. And I think we can go to the next slide. Do we have the slide for me? Yes. Perfect. So I just have a slide here just to show representation. And actually, these are limited data because it's from 1974 to 2007. But you can really, if you extrapolate to right now, which now we are 2022, so many, many years later, it's actually almost, when I did the check, it's actually almost 40% of positions are English only. So we're not even talking majority of the market. So that's like for me, 60% needing French. So either bilingual or francophone positions is a high percentage, and you are really reducing your chances at, having access to those positions. Furthermore, as many have alluded to it, is that the francophone expectation and the French required expectation from higher ups. So the way it happens in the government, they would think that a team would be composed of both English speaking and French speaking employees. So the manager, if you're managing all of these people, then you must be able to speak French. You must also debrief the minister. You must be able to understand emails and communications. So anyone that really wants to be a manager, as simple as manager, you'd have to have your language levels and you'd have to be bilingual. So unfortunately, circumstances, it's that sometimes people are very competent, but they don't have the language requirements, so they can't go. But if you are in that position, so let's say you worked a couple of years in the government and now you've reached the highest level you can before reaching management, then the government gives actually a year, I think a 6 months training. You can go on language training where you will learn French at the expense of the government, because you want to pursue a managerial position. If you were a supervisor, you can, you always ask your manager, but they have a couple of positions, they have waiting list, people that want to learn French. So it's never too late. It's always something you can do in your own time. And then if you are already employed, then it's something that you can do through the government as well. And you'll do it full time, by the way. The 6 months, you're literally just, you go somewhere and you learn French. So you won't be doing your job and trying to learn French in the same time. You'll be full-time learning. And at the end of it, if you occupy a bilingual position, then you get $800 per year. That's the incentive. I just wanted to give sometimes they say figures. I just wanted to put it in perspective. So like, when you take away the taxes, sometimes it's not that much. But if you think about it by real incentive, it might not be a lot, but the real gain is that you can access higher levels and you will be picked first. So honestly, I don't want to say I'm not competent, but perhaps in some of the jobs I applied to, I was perhaps picked over someone else because I was bilingual. So that'll be easy. And even how proficient are you in your bilingualism? So sometimes you're just picked over another candidate. And I think I was able to move up quicker at a quicker rate, due to many of these issues. When sometimes, like as a reality, 60% of the positions are bilingual, so I can apply to everything, and that statistically increases my chances. So I want to hear from everybody that's here. So I want to, if someone has the experience of being in a position where they felt like French was favored, or that they're limited because they're only English speaking. And I really want to hear everybody's experiences, and maybe we could chat and it can inspire some others to have more of a discussion. Anybody here that felt like at one point in their life, whether it's school, whether it's career, they needed to speak French, or they saw the need for it, they felt it? Hey, not a single person. Maybe everybody's shy. We'll give it another round. Anybody wants to say anything about, or at least why you think that maybe French wasn't needed in your career? You feel like English was perfectly enough for you and you did not feel limited. Maybe the other side, maybe someone has that experience. Perhaps language was not considered. Okay, I think that wraps up. I will happily take questions if you want to know how to get in the government, if public service is for you. For me as an engineer, it took me a while to figure out if I wanted industry or public service. It turns out with my personality, I preferred public service. It just matched a little bit the mandate, the work environment, everything matched a little bit more. So I picked the public service, but definitely there are many ways to get into the government. And I think my advice to anybody that wants to pick the public service as the employer, I think that first you just have to just get in as a student. So if you're a student right now, go get a co-op, do FSWEP, do something, because once you are a student, then you can later on put yourself in the student bridging inventory. the SBI SBI. And what it is, it's just they'll contact you later. They'll say, "Oh, are you interested in public service as a career?" You say yes. You fill up a form of everything you want, and they'll contact you and they'll give you interviews like right away. So you don't have to actually apply from outside and prepare files or do exams. So it's a little bit of a shortcut where you can get bridged. So that's my advice. So even if your program does not have co-op, you can still do FSWEP. And yeah, that's my advice for public service.
Thank you, Rehan. So you can still come practice with us. We will host some French cafes that will be organized in the future to discuss opportunities and help you improve your French speaking. We will also be posting about our future events. We are planning on presenting some bilingual companies to look out for and hopefully some openings. Thank you all for your attention and feel free to ask us any questions. I think I saw him.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hi.
go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you.
So, someone who is new to this culture and too new to this language, what is the process and what is the key thing to know how to start learning French? Either going online or any sources available in the university or at the online available.
So I can speak from experience because I learned French pretty late. I only spoke Arabic up until I think I was 10. So I just learned it by how to say when you're subjected to it like right away. So I literally just surround immersion. Thank you. By immersion. So I literally only watched TV in French. I only watched YouTube things in French. I wouldn't understand anything. I would have to put the subtitles, but just hearing it so much, I just learned kind of more by listening, and then I learned more how to write. And that's why I said I kept working on my French as I grew older, because I think I started speaking and understanding French before I started writing, so because I took a more informal approach, because it's just a little bit more fun to watch a movie, because you're tired at the end of the day, your schedule is busy, you're not going to want to sit and do exercises, you're just going to watch a show. So I just would force myself to watch a show in the language I'm trying to learn. So in that case, it was French. And then that way you can also develop an ear for what sounds right and what doesn't sound right, because then like you can figure out the exceptions easier, and they're like, oh, that's why we write this way, that way, that way. So that's my personal approach, is go informal, then you can get the formal to check. But definitely there is online sources. There is of course, I think somebody shared it in the chat. So definitely there is formal resources that are available online on YouTube through that, and like I said, professional sources. So actually even right now I'm working at the Department of National Defense. They have literally, even in the office, a whole section just for French teaching, where they bring French teachers in person, and you get a one-on-one session and you get a team session. So you'll be in a team learning with them, and of course, these are very expensive. You had to pay out of pocket, but your employer is going to cover that cost. And you get one-on-one with your teacher. You would do exercises and you would meet up. We also do French clubs I'm not sure which office you're going to be working in, but at the office, usually we do coffee chats in French, where you like can informally chat with other people that are speaking French, and they can help you get going with that. So definitely there's some professionally funded resources. There's some lots of free resources, but I think the easiest, most convenient way for me to fit it in the tight schedule was really like the immersion. So if you surround yourself by people that speak that language, and if you cannot, then I would suggest you just change everything you watch. Radio. Sometimes I even change my settings of the phone. I'll just put it in the language I'm trying to learn. So that way it forces me to kind of know exit, select settings. It really puts you. Maybe you don't have to do it at the beginning once you're a little bit more comfortable, but just putting yourself in it and you learn on the spot. Did that help answer your question? I think it was Dipnash.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just as like I just want to add to what she has just said. The reason why we came up with this idea of French cafe is really, as she said, you can read books, you can learn how to write. But until you start talking or practicing, you won't get it. So the idea behind the French cafe is, like she said, even at work they have this coffee talk, or as she mentioned. So the idea here is that you, as an individual, can go, like I think Rita has shared some resources on the chat. You can start learning, and we are gonna be there to support you. And again, the French cafe is something we are trying. We've never done it, so it's gonna be like the first time. So it will kind of be dependent on how many people we get, like how many people are interested. But as of right now, if you tell me, Chris, okay, I think I'm available on Mondays or whatever. If you are the only person, then I'll be willing, I'll be willing to adjust my timetable. But as we get more people, then we'll probably set up a proper day where people can just come and meet and talk, be it in person or virtually, whatever works for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
all
would
I
be great.
wanted to add.
That would be great. Thank you.
But again, we need to see the motivation, because there's no need for us to have something there and nobody is showing up. So yeah.
Exactly.
And something perhaps just from my experience being on the French cafe professionally for the past 6 years at work, something I was gonna say, when you don't know French, it's just everything sounds difficult and everything sounds intimidating. But if you just take a minute and realize everybody else at the area came to learn French and they're also just a beginner like you. Usually things are set by beginner levels. If you're intermediate, then you're going to go to the intermediate level, whether it's your teacher or some of that. So if you sign up for beginner, we're talking like, zero French, you'll be with other people and other peers that are like that. So don't feel intimidated. Don't feel like you're the only person and or like you're weighing down or you're so lost. You're like, you don't understand what people are saying. Like everybody starts somewhere. And sometimes even if teachers seem like they're using a lot of French and you're lost and you don't understand a single thing, they're probably just using the immersion tactic, is that they're just trying to get you to listen and get used to it so it doesn't sound odd. When you hear it a lot, then it becomes more natural to you and you kind of absorb it. It's passively seems a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, but it really over the time you'll absorb slowly the words or the intonations and the way you pronounce things. Any other questions?
The question don't have to be only related to the bilingual. It can be related to what was presented before. So even about how to get into the government, like it was mentioned. So whatever question you have, just go ahead and ask the questions. One of us will be happy to answer.
We want to help you on your career path, wherever you are on it.
This is a shy group.
Yeah. Should we maybe make it a little bit more interactive and ask some people to tell us where they are on? I see Monica. Monica, are you here?
Hey, hi.
So
Thank you
Monica,
so much for coming today, first of all. It was a great presentation and all the advices you gave. It was all
thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Monica, where are you on your career?
So this is my last term with the university, and you know the struggle, like all the assignments and everything. And almost I have gotten my full-time job and will be starting in January. Like this is the same organization I am interning with. So it was kind of easy for me to convert it into the full time. So yeah, this is pretty much it about the update on my career. And thank you CDC and bilingual team for organizing it. If we don't have any questions, we can just call it off.